Oh, wait, let me get headphones. Just in case. It's easier to hear me that way. Oh gosh, why is it so high? We're figuring it out. There we go. Ta-da! I mean, I feel like it's higher than it's been. That's okay. We're gonna do this. Party. Happy full moon. Happy full moon of February. Happy full moon in... Funny enough, I keep hearing Virgo. And it'll be proper, for sure. It'll, like, jump into. But the full moon's tonight, and it's moving in Leo, or, like, on the cusp of Leo. And I find that particularly pertinent because it plays such a big factor in the way that Virgo will move. And accounting for its position, like, on the line in Leo, directly opposing everything that is in Aquarius and how much power that has, it's very much kind of a new North Node, South Node thing. The way, you know, Gemini and Scorpio sort of oppose in the way you think versus the way that you move, or the way you think beyond thought. Leo is very much about a belief and a confidence in action in the way that Aquarius also has faith in. So these two things do sort of intermingle, and Virgo, being very detailed and very poignant and very actionable in its own right, is very much going to take on all of this information before the moon fully descends into it. So treasure what we have in Leo. It is very important, and it is very like almost like an IV, like reinvigorating. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. The sounds were very much on the tip of my tongue. Mars and Venus are very much on top of each other in the movements that they're making. I do get the feeling that Mars is sort of overtaking, or trying to. There's very much sort of a tension and a pull there, or push and a pull there. And that's very much something that, you know, I'm sure we're seeing in, you know, irritations or microaggressions within society and within people. But it's small scale, that is indicative of a much larger scale, which is where we get this ethereal Aquarius, and then again, the importance of Leo, because it's very much the tangible atmosphere in a lot of ways, while also being sort of auric field about it as well. The main of the Leo is very much the energy and atmosphere and aura of an Aquarius, or can be. Or, you know, we can give into the static and fill our hair with the frizz of thought, unintentionally so, or with lack of concern. So we shall pull cards, because it is full moon and it has been chonky for a few days, and very pertinent, very visible. Saturn's also very much in line with this, so that will lend itself to, you know, Virgo proper, and the ways in which that we sort of apply new technical information, or assess and sort of edit the coding involved in whatever, you know, script we are reading to ourselves. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of shit going on. So we're going to pull some cards, happy full moon, and see what this full moon has to offer us, and how we can tap into a line, and I think establish the faith of, or belief, personal belief, you know, maybe not faith that has very religious connotations, but personal belief in what we can visualize for ourselves, as ourselves, and, you know, belief in what we are capable of, so that we can take that Leo main and strength and move with that. If you've been watching with me for a while, or if you know me personally, I often say that prime numbers vibrate, and therefore even numbers are the tangible factors of belief, or like the tangible proof of that belief, whereas prime numbers is our opportunity to understand those oscillations and apply that so that we can see it, which is why 4s are sacred and why 3s and 5s are creative. So we do some stuff and some things, my dears, and my queers, and everybody in between. Okay. Much like we are here and hanging out together, if you've done this before, you know what I'm about to say. If you have not, hello and hi, and how are you? I like to tap in through breath. So, much like we are hanging out together and we are in person and we are just using the interwebs as a conduit of all that we're doing, and like there's cards in between us. If we were in person, I would have you hold your hands over the cards and I would put my hands over yours, so that we both are available to whatever we're tapping into. And we'll take 3 deep breaths together. So, hello, hi. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Okay, there's definitely improbability in waves, or it could just be seeing these LED strobes, but that never happens. And there's very much an element of posturing in the midst of anxiety. So, you know, sometimes standing, you know, those games you play where it's like freeze, and you're almost like so nervous that you're gonna get caught blinking that it becomes that much harder to stay still. Kind of that, like that much harder to stay upright, because you're feeling unsteady, or because there's unsteadiness abounding, or unsteadiness in bedrock, which is an interesting feeling. Gosh, I love how that suddenly gave me anxiety. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Okay. Hello. Beautiful. Much like I said just a moment ago, about 3s and 5s being creative numbers, the bottom of the deck here is the 3 of Wands and inverted. So how is it that we are excavating and creating our internal worlds or internal narratives, or the status of the peace that we have within us, rather than, you know, the boiling and the bumbling and the anxiety. It's very much beckoning what your power of possibility is. And for as much as people love to defer to science as definitive, or mathematics even, as definitive, both are ruled by impossibility, really. Imaginary numbers and particles that move in and out of space, and you know, ideas of alternate universes or what have you, or imaginary numbers and limitless functions. That it's funny to me how much people use that definitive, or seeming definitive, as a way to sort of deem blasphemy to the idea of possibility, when the things that we deem implausible are actually consistently proven again and again to be quite possible, um, in many ways, shapes, and forms. It is quite surprising. So rather than box yourself in with these, implausibilities and possibilities, for sake of safety in a limited function, allow yourself to explore and be creative and have fun in a very human context, but also entertain the idea of impossibility as well. Um, so not just necessarily creating disbelief, but sometimes in the most vulnerable states, we can't imagine things getting better, and we can't see beyond the end of that. But again, what goes up must come down. Everything with an uphill turn has a downturn swing. Um, Again, momentum, science, physics, uh, is essentially the light at the end of the tunnel. And so, even in those sort of constricted moments, we can find ourselves in a place that allows for more space in possibility rather than being constricted in wall to wall of what is possible. Essentially, very like 2D versus 3D, 4D, etc. Once we give these ideas life. But this all kind of does reiterate that too. There's the Two of Pentacles, the Five of Cups, Ten of Swords. The Two of Pentacles very much being a reflection or an oscillation, relational aspects in some way, or sort of doubling of even. And that's, often in superficial terms deemed, meeting somebody or relationships or connections or what have you. But it is very much also, I think, the definitive plane of a new doorway that we can create. And how the reflection of ourselves is also, multiple versions too, in the ways the relationability, I don't know if that's word, the relational quality of your relationship with your reflection, of your relationship with your younger self, of your relationship with your personal self and work self, and the ways in which we either sever creation and unity in those relationships, or allow for communication and unity in those relationships. And that 100% can also mean other people, and can also mean the friendships or relationships that we have and the space that they inhabit. Because this Five of Cups above this Three of Wands, this Five of Cups is very much that central hall of those, where those things inhabit, and how they do. It's interesting. If you were to have all of your friends in one room, what kind of room would it be? Would they even get along? Is there some sort of butting heads there of the authenticity that exists within your personal relationships independently? Which it's funny because I've kind of thought that actually to myself this week, not in whether or not they would get along, but that when I'm in a room with my friends, I am not the smartest person, or the strongest, or the most creative, or the most daring, or the most inspiring. And that's really miraculous and fantastic and wonderful, and is a room that I think everybody would enjoy and would grow in and would revel in. And I would hope that that's true for more than just me. And I would hope that even if you were to perceive some plausibility of a disunite there, that we actually have a lot more open-mindedness both in ourselves and therefore in the reflections of our relationships, that would satiate that and sort of de-escalate that even. Again, a limitless quality, because while there is boundaries of a safe space or a held idea, even, safe space involving other people or yourself, or held idea involving the things that you allow to, come to fruition in your mind and what have you. Um, though those boundaries, and especially with Leo, and again, that confidence, though those boundaries are maybe something that we're establishing with more clarity and with more, like fervor and more faith in them, more belief in our nose. Um, though those boundaries are strong and held and in place, or can be, there is still room for entry and there's still room for space. This is very much the difference between, I'm done dating, I'm so jaded, and, I'm closing off my heart, versus I'm not looking for anything right now, nor am I looking for anything like the things that I've had, but that does not mean that my heart is gated or caged. Um, and I don't know if I've actually said this on here before, but there was a period of time where I closed off my heart chakra, and I actually found myself uh, even more immersed in loving experience, because there was no more pressure about, or neediness, I suppose, or not neediness. We all have needs. No more expectation at that entryway. And so it became more of a sacred community space rather than like a dork at a club, which is a funny metaphor. So, take that, run with it, take what you need, yada, yada, yada. Take what you need and leave what you don't. That's very much a huge part of this Five of Cups card as well. When we're working with twos and threes, like, it's kind of creating with not bare minimum, but creating with what you have, gratitude with what you have, and understanding that which does not serve. Again, too many. No, I don't know if this is again. I think I said in the last one. Too many cooks in the kitchen. But there is a difference between helpful and useful information, and helpful and useful assistance, and superfluous additions. Too many cooks in the kitchen is very much that, or the ways in which that we can sort of hyper-analyze things and sort of come up with constant detours. On one hand, it does prepare us for those detours and how to move through them. On another hand, too much of that can be immobilizing and anxiety writing. So those are the moments in which we can discern: is this a feeling of fear, or is this a feeling of like faith and attachment, and attachment to an idea, or belief in idea, like passion in an idea, which, quite honestly, both are kind of holding hands, because the things that we are, most feverish about are often the things that we're most afraid of, which is why those two things can be rewarding and also impacted by each other in sort of an unwielding way that causes those ideas or relationships or what have you, opportunities to implode. So rather than do that, assess those limitations and understand: is this a wall because I put it there? Is this a wall because it is in fact there? Or is this a wall that is a mirage of my imagination? And you know what? Even if it's a fucking real wall, lean into that imagination and you'll find ways around it. Absolutely. There was a time I was locked out of a door, and as frustrating as it was, I sat down and I meditated, and to quell my frustration, I thought I would make myself laugh. And so I meditated on what it would be like to disintegrate and file under the door like particles, and then molecularize or whatever, and be able to unlock the door for me. And I shit you not, the next time I put fucking paper clips into this door lock, opened. So even if that is a real wall, your imagination will carry you over. Not that you necessarily have to believe that you can fly, but you do have to believe that you can, and that you are. I can and I am. That's the beauty of Leo. and that is the programming, I think, underneath, like I think at the heart of Virgo, that maybe is dressed in more layers of rationalization that can often uh, add another layer of doubt, if that makes sense. They're just so cerebral in a lot of ways, Virgos, and I love you for it. The Ten of Swords being the last card here is obviously not the prettiest card, I suppose, depending on what your idea of pretty is, I suppose. But that does reiterate what I had said earlier about anxiety and the instabilities that we may be feeling in the face of trying to find that posturing and trying to find that uprightness, which, yes, we also live in a world that is constantly like shoving you when you're trying to balance, because, you know, Western civilization is the most narcissistic relationship we could be in. But that being said, I do not think that this is like impending future card. It is, however, an acknowledgement, like you know how there's signs on the road that are like, you know, steep downhill in 5 miles and 3 miles and 2 miles, like as you go. I feel like that's very much what this is like letting you know that while we are here in this realm of the Five of Cups with the Three of Wands, mind you, a tool that is invaluable, use this time to prepare so that this Ten of Swords does not feel like being stabbed in the back or like stab wounds, and feels more like release and knowledge and healing and learning, because this is also very much, at least to me and in the way that I've grown with this card, very much indicative of a tree that I love and that has brought me through a lot of healing, in which the tree sap on the bark or underneath the bark looks a lot like blood, but is actually used for a wide array of medicinal uses, used for many, many reasons, in treating wounds, in treating UTIs, in treating skin conditions, in stopping blood even, or like not cauterizing, but you know, like liquid bandage kind of situation, that I have gotten to see the healing power of myself, and it's a very reliable thing, a very reliable instance. So even though this card is really intense to look at, I do think like it can come with a great release and great ease, and sort of great honor to memories of what sort of led us to this point. So even in the face, like it, as this prepares us for that, you know, downhill 90-degree turn, you know, or you know, slow down kind of sign, we have the tools, we have the sight in line using this Two of Pentacles, if we are to properly utilize the reflections that we are capable of. And essentially, like, this is the room in which we adorn ourselves and prepare for war. Prepare for spiritual war among many other kinds. And when we are in the face of it, we, because of this, because of the time held in here, when we are in the face of it, we will be able to hold upright, and we will survive. And we will push through, and we will succeed, and we will, all of the things that we thought implausible or impossible is ultimately blasphemy to the soul, rather than the other way around, in the ways that people use it. Okay, let's see what numbers have to say. And this crazy reality. What's up, buddy? You know those games where you like, it's like a wall of pegboard and you like throw a token on it or something, like a colored token, and somehow, though it seems incredibly random, that token or bean or marble will land in like the perfect spot or the right color or whatever intended spot that it was supposed to go in, like a magic trick. I do feel that very much even as I'm shuffling, like we're going through constant inversions or like alternates, like almost like shifting through different versions of different characters. But while that can be confusing and disorienting as if we are like a moth to a flame and have no sense due north, we in fact can find that outside of our own misery, outside of our own hell. There is something that shifts as well. And there's an intentionality in those shifts that I think influences this as well. It's not just like throwing cards into the air or just keeping your fingers crossed and hoping. There is a magnetic waveform to any particular thought function. There's a waveform to intentionality. And so beyond all the shifting, you can, because you are. And I will, because I am. All right. Much like we just did, we'll breathe again and gather some numbers, play with time and space. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Ooh, interesting. Okay. That felt very stable and graceful and very organized. And again, rather than it can't be like rather than like fluctuating waveforms or flashes, it was more like walking into waves, like or walking into rays, like walking into directly into the in-between point of where a ray of light splits, which is very much that space in between where any given particle chooses its direction. And you, my friend, are that particle. Woo! Okay. Two of swords, two of spades at the bottom of the deck, which reiterates everything I just said, because this is very much a path choosing, and is, while there can be a lot of anxiety in the choosing of direction, this is also where we can trust ourselves to find due north. Your body very much tells you a lot of these things. There is a second brain in your body. And 100%, I feel 100% the need to say, due north is something that you find a pretty clear indicator of falsehood in spiritual leaders or teachers, spiritual leaders and teachers, is that they tell you north rather than teach you or show you how to find your own. This is also why people follow, and why people manipulate in leading. A good spiritual leader will teach you how to find north within you. A cult leader or a politician or a narcissist or what have you will tell you what north is, will tell you which direction it is, and ask you to blindly follow. This is the difference between obey and lead as well. There's one that allows for accountability and humanity, and one that is tyrannical, really. It's something I've very much seen in a lot of conversations about trad wives, trad husbands, and what a good Christian husband deems a good Christian wife, and what obey means to some of those people versus what their own text says about leading and respecting and honoring and protecting. So that very much applies here. Do not find yourself led into the abyss by somebody who does not know their own north. And so they find validation in creating examples out of other people. It's not always necessarily evil either. Not that I believe in good and bad anyway. But I do think false leaders do so because they lack the ability to lead themselves, and so it becomes a desperate attempt to be needed, and a desperate attempt to feel validated in that. So have some humanity, but also run the other way. The 8 of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, 7 of Hearts, lovely. So again, listen to what you're feeling. Your body will tell you. This is where, I shit you not, I've been lost in the woods, and I panicked for a bit, and instead of fucking freak out, I sat down for a second and was like, let's calm these nerves, and let's see how my body responds, because maybe my body will clarify this for me in due time. And sure enough, it did. I shit you not, I ended up randomly picking a direction, not randomly, my body told me, and finding my friends very shortly thereafter. It did happen another time too, actually, but in another country, and I didn't have my ID or money or my phone or anything. It was quite scary, but your heart leads you, and that's not to say give in to selfish pleasure. That is a misdirection of what that energy actually leads or fuels us in. The 8 of Hearts is very much that intuition and that leading of directions. Is very much not something that you're going to find in necessarily what you see. Again, it is going to be what you feel, and how you feel led in those things. Careful, do not be led by somebody else. Do not be led by somebody who is manipulating feelings so that you can follow. The irony, it leads them toward themselves, which is ultimately why it feels really dehumanizing to be caught in those, narcissistic cycles. I hope that makes all the sense in the world to the people that need it. 9 of Hearts, 7 of Hearts. While this 9 of Hearts is inverted, I do think it's maybe a little bit more about pattern recognition than it is about internal study or navel gazing or anything like that. It has been, but this is very much about external pattern recognition. This is very much, which still absolutely is a way to analyze you, is a way to analyze the momentum of the ways that you are moving if you are seeing a repetition of patterns in any specific way, shape, or form. Whether it's behaviors, whether it's, types, or, similar experiences in relationships, or, similar tips with friends, or just similar things that you're noticing in the ways that you're conversing or moving when you wake up. It is very much noticing those patterns and how you are influencing or creating them. And if you find that you're not influencing or creating this pattern, but it fucking sucks, there's something still within that pattern that can be moved, manipulated, or tweaked to change our perspective in that pattern. Close one eye, step to the side, and see what happens for you then. Oftentimes we just have to, not just have to, but oftentimes we can reframe things and suddenly have a very different reality sort of spawning from that. A lot of times the information that we get in this wellness industry and what have you, or, you know, rise of therapy, is these ideas of, this is what's wrong with you, this is why this is happening, this is, like, you must be fixed. When I think a reoccurring thought in a lot of ancestral philosophies and a lot of indigenous sciences and yogic sciences, Ayurvedic sciences, is that the flaw is in the adornments that society puts on us, not necessarily inherently in you, because stripping all of those things away, you are energy, which is a part of the creation of everything. Therefore, you are everything. Therefore, you can't be wrong. What is there to fix? But all of these extra costumes that we put on in the social world, in the colonized Western social world, are the things that are fixable, not the other way around. Oh, that just fell out. Changing your mind frame rather than fixing. Understanding your survival mechanisms, understanding your motivations, understanding the root causes for those things, is ultimately the healing factor. And this is a very obvious truth of addictions. It isn't just, you know, that something's wrong with your brain or that you love crack cocaine. It is, however, a symptom of a deeper cause or deeper root issue, and that is very much where we start to explore, where you will be led to if you start to explore patterns. If you start to notice and explore patterns, ultimately it will lead you, like a braid, like a woven string, to the root cause of something. And that does not require isolation. We learn a lot about ourselves from the way we reflect in the world, and from the way that people reflect back at us, and the ways in which we handle it. So, you know, getting fucking screamed at on the street isn't a reflection of me being an asshole, but it is a reflection of something in me angering this person. Or, you know, angering something vulnerable in them. The way that I respond to that very much is a reflection of me, and then we both have broken mirrors, you know, or we both will break each other's mirrors. 7 of Hearts leading that. I love that this is with the 10 of Swords, at least in alignment, because for all of this visual stimuli of pain and blood and what have you, though, again, remember, like I said, healing tree, very much about wound care and wound treatment, and what's the word for when you put leeches on you and you purging. The 7 of Hearts is present, is honest, is, again, with that Leo Aquarius thing we were talking about in the beginning, is, I think, confident in their, and so confident in themselves that they will not see weakness as a vulnerability, or they will not see vulnerability as a weakness, and because of that allows them to speak honestly, truthfully, with honor, and you know, be able to be present and assess the situation, and be able to ask for help. That's also a big thing about this one. Whether that be finding other resources, so, you know, the internet can be your friend. AI can be your friend if you're nice to it. But 7s, again, we're talking odd numbers, we're talking vibration. 7s are very sacred numbers. 7 is a very sacred number in many cultures and lore and ideologies. And so this can also be turning to uh, a higher understanding of possibility, which, beyond turning to a higher power and beyond turning to any specific faith, understanding how to honor your highest self, but also, even just a scientific context, understanding that more information needs to be had or explored. Having faith in science also means to have faith in the impossible in a lot of ways, because we just don't know, or we don't have all the information yet. There's a humble quality to the quite magical magnitude of the world as it is, truly. I think there's also something to be said about being able to see that clearly if we are fully present, rather than seeing fragments or fragments of the whole, or seeing, cracks in the picture. And that's also very true of judgment. When we see judgment like cracks in a mirror of anybody's visage, that is a reflection of the breaks in our mirror as well, because most judgment comes from a fear of being judged, and comes from a lot of insecurity. Again, it's funny how those things seem really counterintuitive, but it really does influence the heart of some of the most unbecoming behaviors and ways. And I say unbecoming rather than evil because, again, I don't think I believe in good and evil. Good people do terrible things, and horrible people are also capable of redemption should they choose it. And maybe that is also where we get these constant inversions or flippings as we're choosing, because attach yourself too much to one or another of those, and you'll find yourself disproving yourself. And that's true of anything. Attach yourself too much to any ideology, and you'll find yourself disproving yourself and sowing doubt. I actually read that in a book too about like revolution, and it was talking specifically about tarot readers and like psychics versus charlatans, and that in times of revolution and warfare, people go die hard into religion, or they go die hard into something else, and over stimulate it to the point where they sow their own doubt. They overuse, over manipulate, and create sort of their own addiction to it, and so their own doubt. I mean, I've seen it on here. I'm just being honest with y'all, and I see videos of people like jokingly pulling cards and like making a mockery of it, and then I see people reading and quite honestly making a mockery of it, because it's all about love and relationships and some person that you're thinking about, and it sows this distraction of what your heart really wants, because it's not validation through somebody else, and it's not pleading for a relationship. That's a distraction, and that's a misuse of that kind of energy. But what do I know? I'm just here to do my own thing. There's a lot of things I think we'll have to be very mindful of, and I think a lot of things that I'm not saying be wary of, be mindful of, be diligent in your discernment, and that doesn't mean overwork yourself. That means trust yourself, and be present, and you'll be surprised what your body will show you, and how it will lead you, and how it will communicate with you. Yeah, that's all I got for you. Trust yourself, party on. Love you long time. Thank you for rocking. Thank you for viewing whenever it is that you do view, because we are playing with space and time here. So whenever is whenever, as long as you're present. All right. With that, party on. Happy full moon. It's been chunky. I hope you've been feeling it in the best of ways, and I hope that when you find yourself in a situation that somebody is not riding the wave maybe as gracefully, you afford them the same grace that you would afford yourself. And take that and move with it, and I hope that that shows you just how you're moving to. Party on. Until next time, Donada, Kwai.